Well, hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. This is our third episode of our guests. Today I'm here with Pastors Tim and Tina Notes. They are currently, right now when we're recording this, on a mission trip here in Costa Rica. You guys brought a team of, how many are you guys, 10?
10.
There's 10 of us.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to enter in this conversation and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to start off by honoring you guys. I don't want to get it too into your story and everything because we want to hear that from you guys.
Right.
But what you guys are doing is awesome, and I'm really happy to have you guys on the podcast. So
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us. Yeah.
okay, so how about we start off with you guys maybe telling us a little summary of maybe your testimony or how you guys got into the ministry.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah.
way back, like
Way back
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah. Way back. I know for myself, I was actually raised in a Lutheran church. So very, very different from our church, very different from the churches I've been around for, a number of years now. But I came to a place that there was actually a Bible study very similar to yours that you
like
have
what you're doing.
that really spoke to me as a young. I was like one of the younger people there because I was following my brothers, and there was a particular lady there, and of course watching all of them as well, the young people worshiping, and they were worshiping more freely than I had really ever experienced. And that put a hunger on the inside of me. And I think that somewhere along the line, I saw what they had and I wanted that.
Yeah.
And I came to a place personally that I understood the gospel in my head, but it hadn't sunk down to my heart.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was about almost 16 that I had to make a decision myself to follow Christ. And so eventually, obviously, I did that at 15, 16 years old, and it's just been moving forward ever since.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was actually raised Pentecostal. And
okay.
when Tim and I met, I was like 18, he was 19. And we were just both searching for more.
Yeah.
And, God just brought us together. And we, we found a church, actually Life Christian Center at the time. And God just planted us there, and we just grew.
Yeah.
It was like we both kind of came together and just grew in the
We were
Lord.
hungry.
And that's when ministry started stirring in our hearts.
Yeah.
That we knew we were called for more.
Yeah.
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 And so when you guys met, when did you guys become boyfriend and girlfriends, or when did you guys start dating?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm guessing not right as you met, you were,
Yeah.
or, well, I'm not sure.
No, we didn't meet till, okay, so you were how old?
I was 18.
Yeah, and I was about 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was an assistant manager at a men's clothing store.
It's called Richmond Brothers.
Yeah, and
Back in the day.
I was fairly new to that location.
Yeah.
I had worked at Richmond Brothers for a while, but then I moved into her area where she lives actually with the store, and my boss, the manager, hired her. And so the very first time that I met Tina was she came into the store, and I knew that we had a new employee coming in, and I said, "Oh, you must be Tina," and she said,
Very good.
"That is exactly how
Those
we
were the
met."
first words
What?
I
Very
said
good. That's what she
to
said
my
to me.
future husband.
Very good.
And boss and
does
future.
that mean?
I
Very
don't know.
good.
I was a little sassy, I guess.
That's how it started.
But we started dating a few weeks later, and there our journey began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so, what was I guess I should say, the first ministry you guys worked in?
Yeah.
Or when did you guys start serving? Because I know,
Yeah.
Sometimes when you follow Christ, you kind of just linger until someone, pulls you
Yeah.
into a ministry or God calls you into
Right.
a specific one.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to say it or not, but we at the church that we were at, Life Christian Center at the time, we got involved in a new believers class.
Okay.
And we actually went through the class, and then we became, it was more of was it new believers or new to the church? A little bit of both.
Something new believers.
But we said, man,
like
we really want to get involved here. We
Yeah.
wanted to do something. And so one of the, he wasn't really a pastor, but we knew about the class, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, you can come and help us.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, we're gonna teach or something like that.
Right.
But actually, we started out ministry together anyway.
Yeah.
By setting up donuts and orange juice for a class.
Orange
That's how we started.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, just getting in there and
We
serving.
just served, you know,
Yeah.
and that's where we began.
I feel like many people, when they're new to the church, or even I've met families and people that have been in church for tens of years, I mean, a long time, and they've never been a part of anything.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like it's because people tend to complicate it. They're like, oh no, I
Right.
can't give a sermon, or I don't have the,
Right.
I'm not talented in what, music.
Right.
And
Right.
it's you don't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Just
you guys
start somewhere.
setting up donuts.
Yeah, set
Setting
up
up
donuts.
Join the donut ministry,
That's
guys.
right.
That's right.
Or the coffee ministry, or
Yeah.
just be a greeter. I mean, there's so many areas anyone can jump in, and just you're serving the Lord and loving on people.
Yeah, you've probably heard it lots of times, but your gift will make room for you.
Yes.
So
Right. Yes.
so you start anywhere,
Yeah.
and God just begins to promote as you're faithful in the little.
Absolutely.
He'll give you more.
He opens the doors.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember I was always involved with church, because my parents, they're missionaries, and for a time they were youth pastors also. So I was always kind of like involved, but I was never in a specific area.
Right.
And I kind of feel like it was there. So like for me, there was a point where my youth pastor was like, hey, get involved, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right.
I can't, I'm not able to speak in front of many
Right.
people, because I used to be, believe it or not, I used to be like really introverted.
Really.
Now I'm like the opposite.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Come
we
out
we
your
remember you a
shell.
little bit when
Yeah.
you were little. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know, but
Yeah.
I mean, I was scared of that,
Sure.
and I think many people when they join a church, they're scared of
Yeah.
a big role or whatever, and
Right.
it's not about what you do to serve; it's who you're serving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think I want to encourage anyone and everyone who's listening that it doesn't really matter what you're doing, as long as you're doing it for the glory of God.
Yes.
It's the best work you can be doing it.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me, like the news in the United States when they were starting to go to the moon. They went to NASA, and
Right.
seeing all the operations and these super intelligent rocket scientists. And then actually the president at the time was there, and he sees a janitor, cleaning the floors, and the president goes up to this guy, and they have all the cameras and everything.
Right.
And so the president asks him, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm helping put someone on the moon.
That's right.
Wow.
And
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
I think
Yeah.
that posture of being like, hey, I may not be the smartest guy here,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
involved, and I'm a
Right.
part of this whole operation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we're constantly telling our teams that serve at the church, we're constantly telling that whether you're parking a car,
Yeah.
or you're greeting at the door, or you're setting up coffee, you're working with the children's ministry, you're at the welcome center, all the different areas of a church,
Yeah.
all of those areas
Absolutely.
create atmosphere for that person to come into the sanctuary
Yes.
or
Yeah.
maybe into a classroom and hear the gospel
Yeah.
being preached. And because of all the steps that went
Right.
before that, the love, the hospitality,
Yep.
all of those things create
An opportunity,
evangelism and
yeah.
opportunity for a life to be changed.
Yes.
And if
that's
they
what
just
it's
came
about.
in,
Yeah.
they just walked in off the street, and all of a sudden they heard you preaching. I mean, something it could
could
happen
work,
that
yeah,
way,
definitely.
Right.
but there's
But-
something greater
Yeah.
when they walk in and they see the
People
love and the
definitely
joy of
notice
Yes.
people.
Yeah, and we're all part of that.
Yeah, that's a team.
So there's no small little job.
Mm-hmm.
Every person matters. Every gift matters.
Yeah.
And it's all about lives changed.
That's right.
And so it's exciting.
Yeah. So I feel like you guys are very similar to me and Madi, because we are both relatively starting up churches.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
So
we've
exciting.
we've been doing ours for about 2.5 years, and you guys,
Wow.
5.
Almost five years.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
so double than us, but you're still new to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, yeah.
at least
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Do you guys still feel like you're kind of new to it, or?
I mean, everything's kind of new. Yeah, because we served on staff at a church, which is amazing, and we learned so much. But when you're actually the lead, yeah, it's a whole new level of responsibility, and you have to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
It's. I've never thought of it quite the way you asked, but there seems to be a continue for us because we're a little bit older, and because we served on staff at a church for so long, 16 years.
yeah.
Wow.
So we were as an associate pastor and doing women's ministry and
Yeah, it's
traveling
amazing.
on missions trips,
Yep.
and so there was a lot there. So in some ways, planting our church has seemed like a continuation of ministry. It just seems like, well, that's the natural
Right.
progression.
Right.
But there is that weight now that's on our shoulder
Yes.
Of course.
of
Yeah.
that lead pastor role.
Yeah. So that's been it's been exciting and scary all at the same time.
Yeah.
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 I kind of, well, I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, I feel like I'm in a constant new, you know,
It is.
it's like always new to me. Like, you know, it's
Yes.
never like you ever get used to it
Yeah.
or you get comfortable with where you're at.
Yeah.
Because for us in our leadership group, we have a few like cultural bases or things that, you know, define us or what we strive to be. And one of them is never settle for less, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Never be like, okay, that's good enough, or
Yeah.
our group is big enough, or
Yeah.
Right.
right. You know, in any situation. So
Yeah, that's good.
that's what we search for. But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, when you started your church, what were like some of the most difficult things about it,
Wow.
or maybe biggest speed bumps in the road?
I mean, first of all, we didn't have a worship team, and we don't sing or play instruments.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, okay, how are we
Yeah.
going to do that? And so that was a big challenge in the beginning of like, okay, God, you're going to have to bring the people
Right.
that have these gifts because we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a day that we were in the car together, and that was a concern to us. The
Yeah.
worship team. How are we gonna? How can you start a church without a worship team?
Right.
You know, that's what was going through our mind, because you want to do things with excellence, like you
Yes.
said. And something kind of clicked in the car that day that we realized that we could actually start with just tracks.
Yeah.
With just music tracks.
That's right.
Or maybe YouTube videos,
Yeah.
something, but we could do that, and something settled into our heart of peace. It was the Spirit of God,
Right.
and we're just like,
Right.
yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And so we
If God
literally,
wants it, he'll make it happen.
yeah, and we
Right.
literally started our church with no worship team at all.
Yeah.
And God has blessed it. We
Yeah.
had two singers.
We
We
had
did have
two singers and tracks.
one particular lady, Vicky, of course, who's just
Yeah,
she's
amazing.
got a great voice.
Amazing.
And with her in the tracks, and I can remember, and I know Tina does too. I remember we were setting up and breaking down inside a school gymnasium, and it was an awesome experience. But I can remember that was the first time for our church that the Holy Spirit fell in our services with tracks.
With tracks.
We're just
That's-
doing tracks.
We're like, wow.
Worshiping. It was
Yes.
powerful.
Because he
Yeah.
looks at our hearts,
Yeah.
not how gifted and talented and all the
Definitely.
stuff. He's looking at people that are just there to worship.
Yeah.
Right.
And the presence of God showed up. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
he's in this.
I think that kind of goes with what you preached on today. For those watching, today's Sunday. You know, we had Sunday church. I translated for
Yeah.
Pastor Tim.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yes, it was awesome.
And you were talking about that. You know, it's not all about, you know, lights and smoke machine
Right,
and
right.
all this presentation, which is
Yeah.
awesome. That
It's
stuff
all
is so
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But if that's your main focus,
Right.
Yeah.
then you know something's wrong. You know,
Yeah,
you gotta,
those
you gotta-
things can never replace the presence of God,
No.
ever. They never will.
We
Right.
want the presence of God. That's the number one. Yeah.
So awesome. So what was it like? How did you guys think about starting a new church?
Oh,
Well, we thought about it for a long time before we actually
Yeah.
stepped out.
Well, because
yeah.
before you guys move on, I kind of want to tell you how it started with us.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
sure.
We were involved in a youth group, and I don't want to go too long, but
No.
we tried to do everything with excellence,
Yep.
and they were kind of limiting us on what we could do or not do, and so it was actually Madi who wanted to leave first, and I'm like, okay, I respect that, but I kind of want to stay a little longer and see if
Right.
things change. Long story short, they didn't, and we were kind of like, okay, God called us to serve in youth ministry, but
Right.
now we're not.
yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
so I was in the U.S. at the time, and I sent a message to Madi. I'm like, hey, I got to tell you something. And she's like, okay, I got to tell you something too. And so I'm like, okay, I called her. I'm like, all right, tell me. And she's like, no, you go first. I'm like, okay. So I feel like God is calling me to start a church. And she starts laughing at me. I'm like, wow, so encouraging.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I'm like, what is your problem? And she tells me that that's exactly what she was going to tell
wow.
me. And
I
so,
love it.
I mean, instantly we knew that that's what God needed for us.
It's confirmation.
But, all right, so now.
Wow.
Yeah, ours is a much longer story. I hate to tell you that.
you're going to have to go
keep it
short.
We have, you guys can take.
Keep it short.
But when we got
Time you
involved together as a couple in a church, the church was on fire, and it just caused us to go more on fire.
Yeah.
And we started to believe that like maybe God wants us to plant a church.
Right.
And this was a long time ago. This was some 25 years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And let me just say, it was some 25 years ago, and our church was only 5 years old. So it was a long process.
Long time ago, yeah.
It was a long
for us,
process
it was.
for
Not
us.
for everybody, but for us it was.
But it was the right thing for us. And
Yes.
so everybody has to figure that out.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's going to be 20, 25 years for everyone
No.
at all. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what it did for us is it helped our roots to be very deep. And we
Yeah.
actually...
We grew.
We
so
planted an
much.
entire church in 6 months, you know, just bam. And I think a lot of that's because of our experience that we had
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember when you guys, first started, 6 months, I mean, it looked pretty good. I mean, I was
I
like,
know.
dang, you guys are fast.
I
mean,
know, man. And when we stepped out, we were just like, okay, God, you're going to have to draw the people that need to come alongside us, because this is your church and you draw the people. And it was just amazing as we started having interest meetings, how different people that we would have never dreamed would come alongside us came.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just blown our mind how God's just brought this team of people together that some of them we didn't know very well.
Yeah.
But then now we're like all family.
Yeah,
So it's pretty
that's
cool
awesome.
how God works.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that takes like a ton of faith.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
me, it took a lot of faith, but I was very comforted knowing that God is the one that told me to do that.
That's right.
And so if he told me that, and if he gives me that promise,
Yeah.
I don't really have to worry about how it's going to happen. I
You
just
don't.
have to
That's right.
walk in obedience.
That's right.
That's right.
Obedience is key.
Yeah.
That is key.
Obedience is key. And and what's amazing, and I was telling Pastor Luis this today, but if whatever you plant, if God builds it, if he starts it and he builds it, then he keeps it going.
Right.
No man's going to be able
Right.
to tear it down.
No.
It's when we start to try to, we get stressed out and we get worried and we start to do things in our own power and our own strength. Those things are going to crumble.
Right.
He has to be in control, and we have to allow him to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like where I'm at right now. God has been speaking to me lately. It was actually a sermon I heard, and it was that there's faith people, and then there's patient people.
Yeah.
And I felt like I
wow.
was a very patience person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so God was like, okay, you're so patient that you're not even going to be in an environment where you have to put your faith in.
Right.
Right.
And so
That's
that
good.
really confronted me. And now I'm like, all right, I mean,
Wow.
I'm going to step all in, and I'm going to
Yeah.
put my faith in you. And
Yeah.
it's kind of scary because,
Yeah.
I like to be patient, make sure everything's ready
Yep.
Yes.
and
Yep.
all that.
Yes.
That's who I was
That's
too.
him.
Part of that faith stepping was proposing to Mary. I mean, we're so
Wow.
young, but I remember
Yeah.
God promised me, hey, you guys are going to get married young. You guys need to get married young. He's
Yeah.
been telling me that for 2 years now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? It's time to step in faith.
Yeah.
It's so scary. I'm not sure about you guys, but
Yeah.
it's scary because you don't see how it's going to come to be.
Right.
But then once it does, you're like, wow, that's. I mean, only God could be
amazing.
able
Only
to do
God.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
for
I
sure.
think that faith most of the time
Yeah.
faith is scary, because otherwise it wouldn't be faith. Because
Right.
you're talking about
Right.
stepping into something that yes,
Unknown.
you can see it, but you don't really know.
Right.
You don't know how you're going to
Right.
get there. You
Yeah.
see that, wow, I'm going to build a church one day, and it's going to be amazing, but
Yeah.
you don't see all the steps you're going to have to get there. You don't even know
Right.
who's going to go with you.
Right.
We had no money.
Right.
We had no people. We had nothing. We just
Nothing.
stepped out and went for
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
have watched God build
Every
His church.
step of the way, he's just shown himself faithful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
awesome.
when you're obedient, then he takes care of it all. So it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
there's
amazing.
something beautiful when you plant a church from scratch. I'm not saying anything
Yeah.
against anybody that you got a church handed to you.
Yeah,
because I
which
think they
is
both come with
amazing.
challenges.
Oh, sure.
And But there's something really incredible when you plant a church from scratch, because you have to have faith.
Yeah.
You do.
Whether you even know it or not, but you've got to have faith, and you allow him to just fill in all the gaps.
Yeah.
But if it's his church and you release it to him,
Right.
and you're not
Right.
trying to hold on to it, if you
Right.
release it to him, it's his church, and he will build it.
Oh, he for sure will build it, because we've watched over 5 years time to go from meeting in a school, and then we rented this A-frame little building, and now 2 years ago we purchased a building on 10
Yeah.
acres.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
That's
That's
crazy.
just
That's
God.
crazy.
Yeah.
And then, start off with 2 singers and tracks, and now we have 2 worship teams and just amazing people. So it's just neat to see God work. We just stand back and we're like, okay, God,
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask, what would you guys say to people that are in church but they're just kind of there? Like, what would be your encouragement, or maybe how you would confront them? Because
Yeah.
it's not just, church isn't going and sitting down in a chair and leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Church is a community. We see it in, Acts, the first church with Peter.
Yeah.
But, like, for you guys, what would you, or how do you approach that in your own church?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as a pastor, and I'm not saying, I mean, this is how I do it as a pastor. You want to inspire people to serve, not make them feel bad for not serving, not reprimand them, but you want to inspire them to serve. And so you throw scriptures out, you encourage them to serve, you show them the importance of serving. Jesus himself said that he came not to be served, but to serve.
Right.
And if Jesus can serve us,
Right.
then what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I also feel like some people may feel obligated to serve, or feel like it's an obligation. Oh, I'm a part of a church, then I have to be serving. And what our posture should be is that we're privileged to be able to
we
serve.
get to. Yeah.
We get to, we get to serve God and any other
Yeah.
way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because everything we do, we're doing it unto the Lord. And so when I get to serve, I'm getting to honor him with that.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's just, I want to give my all. So whether it's at church or when I'm outside of the church, I want to give my all to God. So everything
good.
I do, we are a reflection of him
Yeah, that's good.
to other people. And so when whether at church or out and about, everything I do needs to point people to Jesus. And time's growing short, and so we don't have a lot of time to play games. It's time to get serious, fall in love with Jesus, and reach people. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, if you just only put out there that we need more people, we need people to serve. If you're only giving people what the need is, but you're not telling them why.
Yeah.
Why it's so important to serve. Jesus himself served. He says that we're to love God and love people.
Yeah.
And so when you begin to tell them what the Bible really says about servanthood, then they start to say, "Oh, well, sign me up then.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I should
exciting.
be
I want to
doing."
be a part of this. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel
No,
like
you're
they
great.
see you. They see you and your team. They see how awesome they are. They're so involved and motivated. And like you said, I mean, we should be like a walking testimony of when people look at us, they see something different.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we're not, cause I don't think we have to force anything. Force people to serve. If they see, what God has done in your lives and in their own lives, they're like, hey, I want to be a part of that.
They do.
Yeah.
Most our team members we've had, they're the ones that come up to us and say, hey, we want to be a part
Oh,
of
wow,
this.
that's great.
And that's
That's
wonderful.
this.
What a gift.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Wow.
I feel like there's a lot of lukewarm Christians right now in the churches, and feel like sometimes even think, oh, they don't need my help,
Sure.
And it kind of sounds harsh, but God doesn't really, I mean, this is my bold statement, but God doesn't really need us, you know?
No.
But he wants us, he wants us to be part of his team.
Wants us,
He wants us to, serve him
Right.
because of what he's done for us.
Yeah.
Right.
But God, if he wanted to do anything, he could,
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
so I think that's so humbling,
It
but
is
also
humbling.
encouraging that the God that created everything wants me to be a part of his team.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it is very humbling.
Yeah, I think when we walk in humility, we allow the power of God to move in our churches.
Yes.
And again, you can pray for somebody, but you can also pray for somebody under the anointing of the Holy Spirit. And when people begin to see lives being changed, that changes everything, and they actually want to be involved.
Yes.
When we started seeing more and more lives changed, I mean, real lives changed in our church, and we started to see that. We started to see more people inviting other people.
Yes, people
and so
get
they were
excited
like,
and they want to share what
dude, you
Jesus
gotta
is
be here.
doing.
It's like a snowball.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I feel like that's what it's all about, being a Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, pretty much everywhere he went, he had a huge crowd with him,
Right. Right.
And it's amazing because I used to be in the karate community, and it's pretty toxic. Like, I would go out competing internationally, and they're like, "Hey, you coming?" I'm like, "Where are you going?" Like, "We're going out to the bar." I'm like,
Right.
"What is this?" Because
Right, you're like,
my
"What?"
first trips, I was like, "This is so weird," because I thought,
Yeah.
karate is like a disciplined sport and all
Sure,
this.
sure. And then you're doing
And then I'm
that.
seeing
What?
this, I'm like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
And they all started seeing the difference in me, how I was acting different.
Right.
I was reading my Bible. One time I was staying in a room with 3 other dudes, and they were all like vaping, and they had their alcohol.
Yeah.
And I'm over there sitting in my corner reading a book,
Wow.
reading a Celebrate Recovery book.
Yeah.
Because I was getting a message ready for when I would get
Wow.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they see that.
Yeah.
And they don't see me as a weirdo. They're actually like more interested.
Probably intrigued. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like 8 o'clock at night, and I start to talk to them, and they start asking me questions and all this.
Wow.
And we stayed up till like 3 in the morning,
Wow,
That's
man.
just
awesome.
going
Yeah.
on and on.
Yeah.
And then with their vapes,
Yeah.
we're still talking about Jesus.
There you go. That's ministry, man. I
Yeah.
love it.
Jesus went and ate in sinners.
Yeah.
That's
sinners.
That's why it's so important that you be a reflection of Jesus.
Yes.
Because if
huge.
people, and I'm always so scared of this, that someone come up to me and say, "Hey, just found out you're Christian. I never knew that."
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And you're like,
Right. Oh.
Right.
Ouch.
that
Yeah.
kind of confronts you.
Right.
Yeah, there's a question. I can't remember where I read it at or heard it from, but if you can ask the kids that and ask our congregation and just say, if I went up to your coworkers or I went up to some of your
Yeah.
school friends and I said, do you know that they're a Christian? Would they answer
What
yes?
would they say?
Would they even know?
Yeah.
And that makes it
Right.
very personal too.
Yeah,
It's like,
it does.
am I living my life the way I should, or
Right.
am I just kind of blending in?
Yeah.
Maybe turning the page a little bit. So obviously you guys are here on missions trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys got 10 members.
Yeah.
What was the process like? Because is this the first missions trip your church does, or?
Yeah, I believe it's our first full-on mission trip.
First full on for
Yeah.
us,
Yes.
for our church,
For-
yes, not for
Spirit
Tina and I,
Word
but
Church, yes.
Okay, so it's the first international trip
Yes.
out of Spirit Word.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and so what was that like? Like, what was the whole process of, planning it, getting the group together,
Yeah.
or where did the idea even come from?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that started a long time ago, and
Yeah.
I don't want to take too long with
Yeah.
that. I've been fortunate enough to the church that we were previously a part of. They gave me especially and Tina later on opportunities to really travel to a lot of different
Yes,
countries.
yes.
So just being at that church, I probably went to 12 different countries
Yeah.
or something like that, and in many of those countries more than one time. It was just a phenomenal experience, and it's a
Yeah.
long story probably of how I got into missions
Yeah.
and why I was passionate for it. But she
Yeah.
became passionate for missions too.
Yeah, at first I wasn't. I was
Yeah.
like, I'll give money.
Yeah,
You all go,
I'll
you know?
send.
Yeah.
I'll just send you.
Yeah.
I'll send you.
yeah. We remember
But God
thinking
did a work in me, yeah.
we remember thinking that we were going to be missionaries, maybe.
Yeah.
But
That
very
wasn't our
quickly,
calling.
very quickly, that
Yeah.
wasn't what it was, and
Yeah.
and pastoring became that.
Yes.
But we got to see how we could bring people with us and travel
Yes.
to Costa Rica and
Yeah.
Nicaragua and go to these other countries and see how people live,
Yeah.
see how we can bless other people. Because
Right.
one thing I've actually had people tell me, because we're from the United States, and people tell me, we have a lot of needs right here in the United States. You should just stay
Right.
here.
Right.
And there's so many needs. But the truth of the matter is that the Bible tells us to go into all the world.
Yes.
And so some are
Yeah.
called to be missionaries.
Right.
Some are called, like us, to be pastors in a local church,
Right.
but also to take others
Yes.
out and let them be affected and infected by missions.
Yeah.
And so we personally know that that's part of our calling.
Yeah.
It's part of who we are.
Yeah.
And so I see nothing wrong. In fact, I see it's very, very
it's very
biblical to be
good.
a part of missions.
Yeah, because it's life-changing.
Yeah,
and
of
we
course.
want to see other people's lives change by coming and serving and giving. And it stretches you to go somewhere else that's out of your comfort zone and love them and give and serve. And we get blessed all the more from it.
Of course.
But we've always had the missions in our heart. So it's super exciting that we were finally able to get a mission team together. And everyone that came this time, this was their first time here.
That's awesome.
And so that was really cool.
Yeah.
So it's been neat.
Yeah, we've both been to Costa Rica, I don't know, 6 to 8 times,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And
But this has been the best.
this has been but we've
They're all
known your
amazing.
parents, we've known you, we know your grandparents.
Right.
So we've
You guys
been
are
around,
amazing.
exposed
Yeah.
to your family for a long time.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Have you guys known how long have you guys known my grandparents?
Well, your grandma, she was our wedding coordinator when
No
we
way.
got married.
That's hilarious.
And
Yes.
so we
I
will
didn't know
be
that.
married 33 years in April.
There you go.
So she was
Wow.
our wedding. Cindy was our wedding coordinator. And then we went to Bible college, and Dan and us were in the same class for Bible college, and that's where we kind of got
there's
connected.
a lot
You
of
guys go
history
way
there.
back.
I
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
it's amazing how God knits your hearts together. So we love your whole family.
That's cool.
Amazing.
I like that you guys say, it's important to do ministry, to go but I also feel like being a pastor is a form of ministry too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not everyone can go on a missions trip,
Right.
but I've also noticed, because we've had many teams that have come down, and I've noticed, they all come and serve the community. It's great and everything,
Right.
but sometimes even the same missionaries that are on the trip get blessed too. It's like
Absolutely, yeah.
something changes in them. Obviously they're here to serve,
Right.
but they're also, I don't know, there's a change in heart they see,
Yeah.
because a lot of times what happens too is that they feel bad. We go and show them all these places, indigenous, we show
Right.
them homeless, squatters areas,
Right.
and they feel bad. I'm like, man, I feel so bad, and the
Right.
girls are crying and everything.
Yeah.
But we're like, we kind of confront them and say, hey, you don't need to feel bad. Just
Right.
go back and be thankful for what you do have.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Because
That's good.
how do I say this? Not criticize, but I'm kind of harsh on Americans a lot,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's a big culture of ungratefulness.
There is.
Everyone's
There is.
Oh.
there's so much. They're blessed with so much, and they have no idea.
Yeah,
Right.
this whole
Right.
entitlement that's been coming
Yeah.
up. This idea of
Yeah.
everybody owes me something, but I don't have to work for it. That's
Right.
just
It's
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to feel like it's not only in the United States anymore. Like
Yeah.
anywhere you go now, you just see people that are so ungrateful for what they
Right.
have and everything,
Right.
and then they see the suffering of the world, and then they feel bad.
Right.
But it's not to make you feel bad.
No.
Just
Yeah.
be thankful for what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be
And-
thankful, and what can you do to be a blessing? It's, you don't need to feel bad, but how can I serve them? How can I love them? How can we give out and help and ultimately point them to Jesus?
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
And the good thing about what you're saying is that as the world gets darker, I mean, that's what we're seeing.
Right.
The world is
Right.
getting darker. Spirit of the Antichrist is beginning to become stronger and stronger.
Right.
But what that does, every time the world gets darker, is as a Christian, it gives us a greater opportunity
Yeah.
for our light
Yeah.
to shine the brightest.
That's right.
course, yep.
So we have a lot of opportunities right now to serve Jesus,
Yeah.
to love people, because
Yeah.
that is so counter
So true.
culture right now.
Right.
To love people and serve, and just
Right.
walking through a store and smiling at somebody,
Right.
or saying good morning in
Yeah.
the U.S. is like, why are they talking
Right,
to me?
why are they talking to me?
Startles them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow,
true.
amazing. So what about this trip? What are your thoughts on it? What's something that God's been speaking to you, or what's something that's impacted you from? What is it? 5-6 days now? You've been here?
Yeah. Tomorrow. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the 5th day right now.
You guys head out tomorrow
Yeah,
morning.
we head out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. It's just, I don't know, just seeing it's wonderful seeing our team and just seeing them being impacted.
I'm sorry. I feel like you, or at least me as a leader, seeing that I can get a team together and go on a mission trip and they serve. I feel like that's so fulfilling.
It's huge, and just to see how they're being impacted, and but yet they're giving so much and want to soak up every moment of it, and so that's a beautiful thing. But also just seeing how you're loving on people, and they just give the love right back. People. Yeah. It's just neat to see people care for one another. And it's just being that light, and so that's just been really neat, that you can go to another country, you don't speak the same language, but yet we all speak the language of love.
Wow. Yep.
And so that just kind of came back up on me, like that's what this is all about. Loving people and sharing Jesus.
Yeah, just to see, I've always known, being able to travel to other different countries, it's amazing that the gospel message is, the true gospel message is the same everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, it's about Jesus. It's about what he did on the cross. It's about his blood. We're saved by the blood of Jesus Christ and nothing else. And you can go anywhere, and that's the true message of the gospel. And all these people understand it the exact same way. And it's just, to me, always powerful. And there's such a connection. Neat. You can't even speak the language, and yet you love one another. You serve the same God. You worship the same God. And that's always blown me away when you travel like that.
Only God can do that.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool today when we were having lunch. We're all kind of introducing each other. And then we all start to sing. Some songs are in Spanish and in English. But, we're all kind of just there together. Don't know the same languages, but we know the same God. And I think that's awesome.
And just this presence of God and the Spirit of God just in our midst. And that translates, It doesn't matter if you don't understand the words, you experience and sense the presence of God coming through all of us. And it's really special.
It's cool being able to share, something in common, which is Jesus. And going back to that again, people will notice that because, it doesn't matter what we're going through, or at least in my case. I can be okay with it because I know that, I have my God that's with me, and he's guiding my steps.
Every moment, every day,
maybe to start closing up, I kind of wanted to encourage you guys because me, of all people, knows how difficult it is, to start up a church and then keep it going. But, you guys are doing such a good job. Your team is awesome.
Thank you.
My mom, you guys know her. She could be a little rough around the edges.
She's amazing.
And
I love her.
She's awesome, She's awesome. But sometimes, most of the time, she's strict, and she'll tell the team, hey, come on, get the food going, clean up this table, And, she sometimes gets frustrated with teams that she's always having to be on top of everything and all that. And then, seeing your team is awesome. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed it, but you guys are really cool. We actually, I was talking with Madi and my parents, and Madi's like, man, this is a really good team.
Awesome.
And we're like,
love it.
And my parents were like, most of the times we have to tell people what to be doing, or they're like bickering and complaining the whole time, and it's more of a hassle having them than not having them, And so I just wanted to, let you guys know that you brought an awesome team, and you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
The women's conference, I've had a lot of women tell me how amazing it was. My fiance told me, my grandma, my mom, and then some other girls I know from church. So that's awesome.
Yay!
And then today's
beautiful, man.
Today's message, it touched me. I almost started crying. I'm like, I'm translating. I can't cry right now.
You did amazing, though. You did an amazing job.
Thank you. But I had like 2 or 3 ladies come up to me and ask for prayer, from you guys, and then from us.
So
I actually have
good.
to send that to you guys, the prayer requests.
Yes,
but
for
it's
sure.
cool because they feel the confidence or the comfort, I don't know, to come up to us and ask for prayer.
That's wonderful.
So
yes.
I think with the little time you guys have been here, you guys have done a whole lot in people's lives and
That's awesome.
for the kingdom of God. So I just wanted
That means
to
a lot. That means a lot.
also wanted to encourage you
everything.
guys in what you're doing. You know, just keep going. There'll be times where you'll be bummed out and stressed
Sure.
and be like,
Yeah.
God, is this really where you want me to be?
Right.
Because I've asked myself that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, if you hang in there and put your trust in Him and just,
Absolutely.
you know, go step by step, you'll see where God will take you. He'll take you
Absolutely.
many places.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, and same for
I
you
really-
guys. Keep going. You're doing awesome.
Thank you.
You and Mary are going to be a dynamic duo. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Amen.
Yeah, it was really exciting to watch.
To see you guys in action.
To
Yes.
watch and you know, we're talking about you and Monty, and to watch you guys, to watch your team
Yes.
do the church service that you just
It was
had,
beautiful,
and
yeah.
the passion in your personal heart
Yes.
to
yes.
learn how to preach, to learn the things that a pastor's going to have to know,
Right.
to understand the word,
Right.
and have a heart that says, I want to divide the word rightly. I don't
Yes.
want to just pull things
Making
out of context.
disciples. I love it.
Yeah, and then even watch your brother, how the way that he's
Yes.
involved in
Yeah.
the ministry
So
and working
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and it was really something powerful,
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
what you have to realize too is it's a God thing.
Yeah.
You don't just
right.
do things like that.
Right.
Right.
God is
It's a
involved
God
with
thing.
what's going on, and it's
Yeah.
very supernatural, and it's awesome what's
Absolutely.
happening.
I could not do it on my own. Oh my
No,
gosh.
Us
we
either.
shouldn't even try. We shouldn't.
Yeah, right. Us
Yeah.
either. We're with
Yeah.
you.
Amen.
We got it.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
I'm grateful that you guys are in my lives. I honor you
thank
guys,
you.
and I
Yeah.
look up to you guys.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks
we
for having
love
us.
you
This was
guys.
really
and
cool.
Hopefully,
this was fun.
Exciting.
yeah. I was telling them before we began. You know, it looks all professional in the videos and the
Yeah.
sound and everything. But if you're actually here, you see everything in the background. The setup is so unprofessional, but
it's
hey,
amazing.
it's awesome. Well, thank you
Awesome.
guys. Love you
All right, well,
guys and
thank
love what
you.
you're doing.
Yeah, we love you too. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you all.